Okay, welcome to the Blue Collar Wealth Club podcast. I am one of your hosts, Jerry Garcia.
And I am Sheena White. Today we're going to be talking about something that is super important in the trades, and that is surviving the slow season. So if you guys are anything like me, when I had my trades business, there is a time and winter is coming. And I remember all those memes from Game of Thrones, because it was very, very popular when I was in construction, and winter is coming had a totally different meaning for me. The White Walkers weren't going to come kill me, but no jobs might.
No, this is perfect. This is timely. We wanted to kind of get this episode out as we're approaching the slow season. Winter, as you mentioned, is coming, and we want to make sure that you are aware how to survive, best practices, getting ready to survive that downturn in business, and how to come out of it thriving on the other side.
Yeah, I mean, because like for us, I was called February the death month because we would go from doing over $100,000 a month to literally 1 year we did $6,000
Yikes.
total in February. So imagine going from like over 100 grand to 6 grand. You know, our overhead was $50K. $6,000 did not even hit that. But the thing was, you know, I knew ahead of time that February was coming, right? So I could plan for it. And I think that's what a lot of business owners don't do, is they don't really plan. They think, oh, it's fine, I will just sell more. I think our best February ever, we still barely broke even.
Sure.
Like slivers of breaking even. So you can't rely on being able to sell more because you just don't know how that's going to happen. The way to do it is to plan ahead in your cash flow and put money aside for the winter.
Sure. And that has to be part of your full-time budgeting, right? I mean, it can't just be like, oh, we need to take these couple months ahead of time and try and this has to be an all year of a planning and budgeting and saying, hey, X amount of percent or X amount of dollars, however you organize that. You know, maybe we could get into that a little bit, how you did that, but that has to be part of your planning, and it can't just be a last minute, oh, we need to, it's not hibernation, right?
No.
You can't just go load up and eat a bunch of berries and then fall asleep for 6 months.
Well, I mean, I actually like that analogy of hibernation because that's what they do, right? They eat all the berries during the fruitful season. They utilize those berries when they have their hibernation season, which we didn't ever shut down. I know some companies that do shut down for the winter, which I honestly think is kind of dumb. Because I would still rather have my employees have a little bit of work. And we actually had certain employees that we kept salary all year, no matter what. But I would rather have some work coming in and some cash flow versus just kind of like, to me, it feels like throwing the towel. I never think that you should shut down during the winter.
So how did you, let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about the employees. And you said you had some that were salary full-time, but I'm sure some of them were either part-time or were contractors. Now, would they just know coming up that they weren't going to be getting any work from you, and so they had to do other jobs during that slow season? How did that operate, and how did you maintain those employees after the slow season?
In every team, every summer, we had some people we liked more than others, right? So the people we liked, we kept, and we tried to keep them kind of fed throughout the winter. I mean, and that was times we would go through, okay, maybe we're going to, this week we don't have any jobs, so we're going to take the shop and we're going to clean it and we're going to reorganize all of our tools, get things ready for the season. We went to the World of Concrete every year, so we took our top employees with us so that they could get continuing education and see all the new things happening in the industry. So we did a lot of stuff like that. But our employees that we didn't really like people we had hired that just kind of weren't really working out. I mean, they were good enough for when we were busy, then we would just lay them off with no intention of bringing them back later.
Okay.
Yeah, anybody we wanted to keep, we would just keep all year.
Okay, and you just gave them all the work that you could. Do you know kind of how they managed that? Did they go do other jobs as well as working for you guys? Or were all of them just salary and they knew they were getting paid no matter what?
Most of them were actually hourly, but we tried to keep them going with at least 30 hours a week, even in the winter, even if it was just, as I said, like cleaning hours or other stuff like that.
Sure.
We tried to keep them busy because we didn't want them going to work for other people. And yes, it was a giant investment, but the thing is, we had already invested so much into those humans in training and their knowledge base that I would rather invest a little bit more during the winter to keep them on staff versus have to invest a ton to replace their knowledge base.
No, I think that's excellent. Like you said, that's when you can get them continuing education, let them expand their knowledge, and then you can do the things that you can't do during the busy season, right? Like if you have a shop or a warehouse, you can get things organized, you can get things inventoried, you can get things cleaned, so that as you hit those busy times, everything is back to running as efficiently as possible because you've planned for that and you take it that slow time. I mean, there is some benefit to having some downtime and utilizing that time to make sure that the business can run better during that busy time.
We do yearly maintenance on our equipment. We'd switch out, like we had a lot of scrubbers, so that's when we would switch out all of the blades on the squeegees and all that sort of stuff. It's like the things that you just keep going during the season and you're like, okay, I'll do that later. That's when later happens. We would do some local home and garden shows. There's a big one here in Denver, the Colorado Garden and Home Show that we did every year. And that's 9 days. We would have some of our employees come, the ones who actually were good talking to potential clients. We would have them come and do some shifts and stuff like that. And yeah, it wasn't their favorite, but it was either that or nothing. So they were okay with it.
Well, and then depending on the type of business you have, as you approach that slow season, we've talked in the past about recurring revenue models and some of the things that you sell to kind of maintain and continue to earn that income. But you're selling some services during that time. During the downtime is when you can go out, perform those maintenances when you'll have a little bit more time. Busy depending on the type of business. There's certain seasons for installs. Well, then the slow season is that season for maintenance. That way you're keeping your employees working, you're keeping them doing things, you're keeping your consumer base happy by continuing to provide that service throughout the year. That kind of helps balance everything out as well.
Yeah. I mean, I wish we would have had more monthly recurring revenue, but we had none. So we had to go the kind of other route where during good season, I had to kind of scrape money off the top and put it away for the slow season because I knew how much I needed in the savings in order to make it through the winter. I knew what kind of runway I needed and how much reserves I needed. So I knew how many berries, going back to the bear analogy, I knew how many berries I needed to eat in order to make it through the hibernation. And I made sure to eat all those berries.
Well, we can go back to that. Like, all right, start exploring additional services that you can offer. I mean, a lot of landscapers during the winter provide snow removal, right? Because landscapers that focus mainly on lawn care, they switch to snow removal in markets and times when that's needed. If there is another service that you can shift your focus to during those slower months that need that service, that's a good way to look at adding on an additional service by purchasing some equipment, or whether maybe you just acquire another business, a smaller business where you can bring that on. It's additional service. It gives your employees additional things to do, and it allows you to survive that on not just this winter, but every winter moving forward, and maybe it expands your business in a whole new way.
Right? Yeah, and another thing we did was we would do a lot more travel during the winter. We were much more open to other markets or smaller markets. So we did a lot of concrete polishing and concrete prep and coating. And we tried to kind of stay in Denver Metro during the season, right? Because we had tons of business. We didn't need to go outside of that. But during the winter, then a trip to the middle of nowhere, Nebraska didn't seem so bad because they were willing to pay us. We could accommodate that. And we would tell people up front, like, hey, look, if you want this done in July, ain't happening. If you're willing to do it in December, January, February, we can accommodate. It's just having that negotiation with the client, or sometimes price-wise and the client, without, sacrificing those good times.
Sure. And I've seen that. I mean, lots of service industry businesses have peak pricing and off-peak pricing. Even as we're exploring our wedding venue, right? There are certain costs if you have your wedding on peak season or in peak season versus if you didn't. A lot of businesses use that model, and that's another great way to say, hey, look, we can get you a better deal if you're willing to do that. And then you can spread your work out a little bit more throughout the year, because some people are less time sensitive and more sensitive to price, and that gives them an opportunity to figure that out.
You can say, look, I understand your budget and we can accommodate that if you can accommodate our time frames. Gives you a win-win negotiation with them. In my experience, very rarely did I ever have someone be like, no, I want it this price at this time. It's like, well, then maybe that's not the client for me because I don't deal well with that sort of stuff.
Sure. No, that makes sense. I think that's another excellent way to really kind of spread that work out, allow you to accommodate. Because some people are going to come to you and say, hey, look, I want to do this. That budget's fine. Boom. You go take them right then and there. And somebody who is a little more price sensitive gets that opportunity to get the deal they want as long as they're open to the time frame.
Yeah, I mean, there's really just thinking outside the box, right? And saying to yourself, okay, what can I do differently than the rest of my competition? Like, what are they not doing during the slow season that I can do to like really capture that market share? And that will help you in the busy season too. Then you'll start getting those jobs that they were getting before, and you'll get them now because you have that consistency and you have that ability to kind of, think outside the box.
So yeah, I think it's important. Take that time whenever you can as you're approaching the slow season. Come up with some ideas, come up with some pricing models, maybe some packages that you don't offer during peak season where maybe it's the same price, but maybe there's just a couple of additional services or add-ons added to those packages to make it more attractive during the off season.
Yeah, I mean, there's a million different ways you can do it, but really being proactive, right? So many people, especially when it comes to their money, are very reactive. They're like, oh no, I have money, let's do this. Oh no, I have no money, let's not do this. But you need to get away from reactivity in your money, and especially in realizing the cyclical nature of your business, and get to proactivity. And if you recognize those cycles in your business and you work within them and you have them be a driver for success on the next cycle, then it won't feel like you're stalling out. It'll feel like good.
Just more of a
momentum.
cycle in how you operate during those seasons rather than being able to operate at all during those seasons. So,
yeah.
no, I think that's all excellent topics for how you can survive that slow time during the year. And some markets are going to be more prone to that than others, but there's always going to be peak seasons and off-peak seasons for various services.
I mean, everything has its slow season and its peak season. Honestly, I don't really think it matters what industry you're in. There are cycles to every industry. So you just have to learn to play that game and play within them, make those leaner times work for you instead of against you.
Oh, love it. I think this has been a great topic, and we wanted to release it in a timely fashion so that you can start to have those conversations with your management, with your staff, to try and plan ahead and be ready for that slow season.
Yeah, because winter is coming, so don't make it hurt you.
Well, there you go. That's this episode, and we will catch you next time.
Thanks for joining us on the Blue Collar Wealth Club.